The air rushed out of Holloway's lungs. From behind a chip display, a teenager filming the scene snickered. Holloway's eyes darted around, and for the first time he saw it clearly, a silent, unwavering wall of smartphones, all aimed directly at him. They were no longer just watching. They were recording his downfall. We were tracking the primary distributor for an arms network that supplies the entire Midwest. Hayes said, her voice dropping into a register of cold, professional fury. Male, Orloff. He was scheduled to make a drop right here. Now, because of you, he's gone. A hot flush of shame crawled up Holloway's neck. He wasn't used to being challenged, let alone humiliated. From somewhere behind him, a man's voice rumbled loud enough for everyone to hear. Damn cop couldn't stand to see a black man not be afraid of him. Holloway whipped his head around, but every shopper was suddenly examining a cereal box with intense interest. The court of public opinion had already passed its sentence. He turned back to the agents, his jaw aching. I want your names, badge numbers. I'm filing a formal complaint. You do that, Pierce replied, his face an unreadable mass of stone. We'll be filing our own. It will be thorough. The officer's swagger finally shattered. The cold reality of the situation hit him like a physical blow. The target was gone. The mission was a catastrophic failure, and it was his fault. His hand, which had been resting confidently on his belt, fell limp and useless to his side. His pride was a heap of smoldering ash. Now, hold on, he stammered, desperately trying to reassemble some shred of dignity. You two roll into my town. No heads up, no coordination? You expect me to just ignore my training? Are you seriously telling me I'm the problem here? It was Agent Pierce who answered, his voice calm and surgically precise. You became the problem when you chose confrontation over observation. You didn't approach to assess the situation. You marched over here looking for a fight. That's called being proactive. Holloway snapped back, his voice cracking. No, Agent Hayes interjected, crossing her arms. That's called dereliction of duty driven by ego. And in this specific context, it's obstruction of a federal investigation. The nearby shoppers were now just openly staring, their carts abandoned. Holloway's public humiliation was absolute. He fumbled for his notepad, a pathetic attempt to regain control. Name again, he demanded, focusing on Pierce. Special Agent Damon Pierce, Liberty Plaza Field Office. Pierce said evenly. You'll also need my supervisor's name, Deputy Director Walsh. Holloway scribbled, refusing to meet their eyes. And you, Special Agent Kendra Hayes, she replied. I'd make sure you spell those correctly. The official inquiry will require it. The word inquiry made Holloway's head snap up. Is that a threat? No, Hayes said, her eyes flicking to the half-dozen phones still recording. It's a fact. You made a choice with a dozen witnesses. Video footage is remarkably objective. Pierce took a small step forward. We were tracking male Orloff, officer. They call him the Weaver. He moves untraceable military-grade weapons across the entire Midwest. After 9 months of work, we had him cornered. We were less than 5 minutes from taking him down. Holloway opened his mouth, but nothing came out. The last of the fight drained from him, replaced by a rising tide of nausea and horror. We kept this quiet because that's the only way to catch a man like Orloff, Pierce continued, his voice low and intense. When a local cop decides to treat a federal agent like a common street criminal, he doesn't just embarrass himself. He puts weapons of war back into the hands of monsters. From the end of the aisle, a kid with a box of cereal muttered to his friend, "You got wrecked right by the organic milk." A nervous laugh followed. Holloway's ears burned. His shoulders slumped. "I'm done here," he mumbled, turning and making a hasty retreat toward the exit without another word. As he left, Hayes spoke quietly into her wrist communicator. "Command, this is Sentinel-1. The operation is compromised. The asset is gone." A voice crackled in her earpiece. "Copy, Sentinel-1. Visual confirms target exited the north doors. Vehicle is in the wind." Hayes swore under her breath. Pierce's jaw was a knot of granite. All that work, 9 months, vaporized by one officer's fragile ego. "Give me a direct line to Walsh," Pierce said, his voice tight with controlled fury. This is not getting swept under the rug. She's already waiting for your call. Hayes confirmed. Just then, a young woman in a store polo shirt approached them. Agents, she asked nervously, holding out a flash drive. I'm Chloe, the store supervisor. I was watching the security cameras. Your target? He was at checkout 9. He bolted the second the officers started shouting. I downloaded all the camera angles for you. Agent Hayes took the drive, a rare flicker of gratitude in her eyes. Thank you, Chloe. This will be very helpful. As the supervisor hurried off, Hayes gave Pierce a pointed look. See, some people actually understand how to do their jobs. They walked in grim silence to their unmarked Chevy Tahoe, the weight of the blown Opie heavy between them. Inside the vehicle, Pierce broke the silence, his eyes locked on the storefront. I saw it the second he looked at me, he murmured, more to himself than to her. His mind was already made up. He wasn't there to ask a question. He was there to make a point. The bitter taste of failure filled the car. On the dash-mounted tablet, Hayes pulled up the security footage from the drive. The target, Male Orloff, was a wraith in a hoodie, head down. Look at the timestamp, Hayes said, her voice flat. Orloff saw the uniform the moment Holloway walked in. He didn't look at us once. He saw a cop on a power trip, knew the location was burned, and was halfway out the door before Holloway even opened his mouth. Pierce's jaw was stone. 9 months, thousands of man-hours chasing a ghost, all leading to this one perfect trap, destroyed in 60 seconds by one man's bad judgment. The worst part, Pierce said, his voice a low growl, is that Holloway was so focused on me. He never even saw the real threat. The actual danger was completely invisible to him. The dashboard comms unit chimed, and the crisp, no-nonsense voice of their supervisor filled the cabin. It was Deputy Director Walsh. Report. The target is gone, Director, Hayes stated. Compromised by an officer from the Stonebridge County Sheriff's Department. The officer initiated a hostile, unprovoked confrontation. Name. Deputy Director Walsh's voice was like cracking ice. Officer Dean Holloway. We have his badge number and the entire encounter on video. Excellent, Walsh said, her voice devoid of any emotion. I'm calling the Stonebridge County Sheriff personally. My office will take it from here. Return to base. The line went dead. No condolences. None were expected. A heavy silence filled the Tahoe, finally broken by Pierce. Let me ask you something, Hayes, he said, his gaze fixed on the market, but seeing something else entirely. If I were some white guy in a golf shirt staring at the cheese case, do you think he ever would have walked over? Hayes was quiet for a moment. I think, she said, her voice firm, that he wasn't looking for a crime to solve. He was looking for a person to break, and he decided you were it. As if summoned by her words, they saw him. Officer Holloway was walking back toward their vehicle. His confident stride was gone, replaced by a hesitant, shuffling gait. He stopped a few feet away, his eyes fixed on the pavement, unable to look at them. Listen, he began, his voice thin and hollow. I didn't see the whole picture. I've been on the force 12 years. I have to make calls based on what I observe. He was cut off. A black Stonebridge County Sheriff's SUV, its light bar dark, glided silently into the parking lot. Boxing their vehicle in, a man in a captain's uniform stepped out, his face a mass of cold, barely contained fury. Holloway. Captain Morrison's voice was a whip crack in the quiet lot. Holloway flinched as if he'd been struck, the blood draining from his face. The captain completely ignored the federal agents, striding until he was inches from his subordinate's face. I just got off the phone with the deputy director at the Federal Bureau of Investigation. He seethed, his voice trembling with rage. She seemed to be under the very distinct impression that one of my officers just single-handedly burned a 9-month, multi-state arms trafficking operation to the ground. Tell me she was exaggerating. Holloway's mouth opened and closed, a fish gasping for air. A choked, pathetic shake of his head was the only answer he could manage. Unbuckle your duty belt, the captain commanded, his voice dropping to a deadly quiet. Place on the hood of my car. Now. A wave of raw, unfiltered humiliation washed over Holloway's face. Under the stoic gaze of the two agents he had tried to bully, his trembling fingers fumbled with the buckle. In a ceremony of utter disgrace, he unfastened the heavy belt holding his pistol, his cuffs, and his authority, and laid it on the hood of the cruiser. A defeated soldier surrendering his sword. "You are on administrative leave effective this instant," Captain Morrison stated, his voice dripping with contempt. "You will go home. You will not speak to anyone, and you will wait. You will wait while my office, in direct consultation with the U.S. Attorney's Office, determines if you have any future whatsoever in law enforcement or if your next stop is a federal indictment for obstruction of justice. Do I make myself clear?" "Yes, sir," Holloway whispered, his voice as authority, his career, all of it broken right there on the asphalt of the Harrian's Market parking lot.